Hi everyone, I'm Wendy Muirhead and I am delighted to introduce you to 5 o'clock somewhere because it's always 5 o'clock somewhere in the world. In my career, I have the joy of working with thought leaders every single day. And this is a great opportunity and platform to share some of those great conversations with you. I hope you find it enjoyable and insightful. Take care.
Well, welcome to 5 o'clock somewhere. And do you know what? I am particularly excited about today's episode. I'm joined by the wonderful Tim Hughes. Tim, hi, how are you today?
I'm well, Wendy. It's great to talk to you. I'm really excited as well about our conversation.
Oh, so am I. And we've known each other for quite a wee while on LinkedIn. First of all, let me introduce the wonderful Timothy Hughes. Tim, I think he likes to be known.
It's only my mother that calls me Timothy.
I love it. I love it. Well, Tim is the co-founder and CEO of Digital Leadership Associates and is particularly recognized for digital download if you're following him on LinkedIn. Also a proud author. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about some of your books, but I believe are available on Amazon. Social Selling. Fabulous. Social Selling, influencing buyers and change makers.
So that came out in 2016. I wrote it in 2016. That came out in 2016, and we've just got a new, updated version out. It's currently on pre-order. It ships on the 3rd of November in the UK and the 29th of November in the US.
Fabulous, fabulous. And you've also wrote another book, Schmarketing, how to achieve.
And I wrote a book, Schmarketing, because at the time, this came out in 2018. A lot of people at the time were talking about the merger between sales and marketing. And I just got bored of people saying, well, we need to do that. And because digital is kind of bringing the two teams together. So I decided to write a book, and my two co-authors, Adam Gray and Hugo Witcher, both worked on a project for bringing sales and marketing together. So we're not able to use the name of the company, but it's actually based on a case study, and it talks about how you can do it.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Tim, just please share with our audience a little bit about you, your journey, and how did you get to where you are in your career, and particularly and I'm going to go and put myself on pre-order for that new book.
Well, I'm a salesman, and I started off in sales 25 years ago, and I got to a point, probably it was back in 2014 or so, where I decided I didn't want to sell ERP systems for the rest of my life. Much as it's really exciting. I've sold accounting systems, I've sold payroll, I've sold personnel and stuff like that, and I just felt that I needed change. My manager at the time said, we need to be getting into social media and doing something about it. And I thought, oh yeah, it's just a fad. So 6 months later, I signed up and got onto Twitter and found that I really enjoyed it, and realized that there was actually something in it and something that could help. There's a lot of people that talk about social media, which can be very, very fluffy, especially from a business perspective. But what I started to see, certainly back in 2015, was the fact that we could actually use social media as a way of selling or generating business. And I was working for a company where I worked for a sales VP, and he was interested in and we just experimented with some stuff, and it kind of worked. Back then, probably only 2/3 of people were on social media. Now everybody is on it. 60% of the world's population is now on social media. And so I was experimenting with some things. I then bumped into Matt Reynolds, who is my co-author on this book. I suggested to him, we need to write a book, and he said, yeah, I've written 5 before, and I know some people at Kogan Page, and within 3 months we got a book deal.
Wow.
And it was just that quick. I mean, it was one of those things that it's kind of like it was like a Tony Robbins moment where where Tony Robbins will say, if you want to be something or do something, you start thinking about being that person. And I changed my LinkedIn profile to say that I was a I knew stuff about social media and especially around business. And that's when everything started coming towards me. So it was kind of like a social media Tony Robbins of saying, this is, you know, an affirmation of this is what I wanted to do. And the book changed my life. It came out in 2016, and that's when everything changed. I was very lucky to get made redundant from that organization, because that provided me and my business partner, Adam Gray.
Bit of a catalyst then, isn't it?
It was a case of, there's one of my friends phoned me up and said, if you don't take the redundancy money, I'm going to come around and punch you. And she's female.
Was she from Paisley?
No, she's from north of London or something. But it was like, you know, you've been saying that you want to do this. Here, you're getting a payoff. This is This is
your
Adam and
moment.
I both got the payoff, and it was the funding for the first 12 months.
Yeah,
So it meant that we could do what we wanted, rather than, you know, we went into some meetings where people wanted to do certain things, and we said, you're doing it wrong, and they said, well, goodbye then. And I remember my partner saying to me, I thought running a business was about winning business. And I said, no, it's about winning the right business. And,
very
you know,
true.
And Adam and I have a very clear vision about the way that the world exists and the way that the world is. And that vision is the thing that always is our driver, regardless of whatever happens out there, you know, people coming and going or whatever. That vision is always very, very clear. And we've stuck with that. And so in terms of the new book, this book, the first edition, was selling like hotcakes, and it's a massive bestseller. I never meant it to be that. I just wanted to my dad's got dementia, and I just wanted to basically go to him while he had some brain cells left and say, look, Tim's done something with his life. You know, that he thought that he was going to never do anything. Well, he's actually done something, and he's written a book, and then it's just taken off. And you can imagine during COVID, it just started going again. So my publisher came to me last year, and I took 2 weeks off just before Christmas. My partner and I went to Portugal, and I just focused on doing the book. So I've kind of rewritten it, updated it, and what I've also done is gone out to 15 practitioners, because a lot of people think that social selling, you use social yourself. You're very social savvy, but a lot of people think it's just rubbish, or you don't get anything from it. And so what I did was I went out to people that are actually practitioners who are using it. So a CEO of a company that says he's a digital company, that's digital not from using applications, but digital from the people and the process. And got him to actually say, okay, what's it like to be a CEO of a digital company, and what is it that people can learn? So by getting these practitioners, you know, from Ericsson and Mercer and Ring Central and people like that, and coming in and actually giving, you know, this is not just some idea in Tim's head. This is practical. This is what's going on right now. And so that's changed the book.
Yeah, and I suppose that it's that richness of insight, isn't it, that you're getting to validate maybe certain concepts that you've considered in the earlier books, and actually validate whether or not that's happened and what value that they've seen as an organization, and actually delivering those practical inputs into their organization.
It's a strange thing when I wrote the first book was I don't remember much from it. So I come on interviews sometimes, and people will say, on page 73 you wrote this, and I'm thinking, I don't remember that. So I can understand when Keith Richards and Mick Jagger said they don't remember writing certain songs, because I don't remember writing things here. Maybe it was just the intensity of it, and the fact that it, you know, I was putting myself out there. I'd written the contract, and I was going to have to deliver. But what I did was I reread this back just before Christmas last year, before we came away, and I went out to a number of people and said, in the old book I talk about community, can you write a piece about this? You know, in the old book on this page I talk about employee advocacy, can you write a piece about this? You know, you're a headhunter, you know what you're looking for in terms of a LinkedIn profile, can you write something about that? And all those people came back and have made some great contributions. And I think, and it's about also the modern reader. The modern reader, actually trying to get them to read a book is actually quite difficult. So there's something like 55 diagrams in there. There was 8 in the original one. But actually getting all these different people to write stuff, I think really means that there's a change of a change of writing style as you read it.
Yeah, no, look, I'm really excited to get my hands on it and to learn more. One of the things you mentioned there, because I mean, you really went through quite a journey in terms of, you know, your old life and how you've operated to this catalyst moment, to this enlightenment moment. I'm going to go do this. What did it feel like when you actually started? I don't know if you had your laptop or if you had a pen, you know, like when you actually started thinking about the book and then putting it, was it like an unleash and just let it all go out and it was written really quickly? Was it a bit of an emotional journey at times where you had writer's block? What was that whole journey like for you? Do you remember?
I do. It was what would happen is that Matt and I would get together and we would brainstorm every chapter. And what we would do is we'd get a flip chart and we'd say, right, this chapter is this is the theme, this is the story. And then it would be ripped off, right, you're writing that, or I'm writing that. And I found that I could, and I did a deal with my partner where she went out on a Sunday and it would be a writing day. And I would churn out, so you need to churn out 6,000 words in a chapter. It's a 60,000 word book, which is what the contract was signed for. And so it was just about doing that. Now, I knew that I was going to go through a transition. I decided I wanted to do it. The company that I was working for was well known for going through these cycles of recruiting and then basically paying people off. So I knew that
reorganization,
that if I did the right things, if I did nothing for 2 years, they'd say, well, that guy's not doing anything, we'll get rid of him. So there was a certain amount of, I knew that the way that I could set myself to get a payoff. But I was also setting some things up, which is they paid for me to go on a blogging course. And it was on the blogging course that the person said to me, you've got to know what you want to be famous for. And this is one of the things that we teach, which is one of the things you need to do is have a digital identity. And I talk about digital identity in the book, which is, so we have, to explain, we have in work, we have a digital twin. So we have the physical world, which is what we're in now. We're walking the dog, we're feeding the cat. I'm talking to you. I'm sitting in my conservatory or whatever it is, and we have the digital world. So which is where what happens is that we switch from, here I am. I finish here and I go into LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is digital. And what happens is that we make that transition from physical to digital, and we know that now our buyers are in that digital world. So we have this digital twin. We have who we want to be here in the physical world. And we also have who we should be having, who we want to be in the digital world. And that's the same for Wendy and all the people that report to you, all your salespeople, even all of your HR people, whatever. Because we now know that the digital buyer, everyone goes, yeah, everyone's on digital. Most people go online and the latest figures are saying, 80-90% of people, when they go out and research stuff to buy stuff, they do it online. Whenever we buy stuff, whether it's we're going to go on holiday to Iceland or we're going to buy a new payroll system, we start here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we have this situation where we need to now have this digital twin of who we are. We need to look after it. We need to say that that's the person who we are. That's the person that we want we want to see the buyer's going to see that. But it's the same with the job hunter. The job hunter is exactly the same. There's a figure that came out recently that was it 94% of job hunters now use social media. What they're looking for is to understand, who is it that I'm going to work for? What's Wendy like? So when Wendy's going to be is the head of my company. What's she like? And what she's like is the person that she's showing that she is as a digital twin on social media. And the more, and the young, and maybe there's people watching this who are as old as me, and they go, no, that's not the case. But millennials are now 20. My partner's got a millennial son, and he's 27. Yeah, he's making decisions about where he's going to work, which is really, really interesting. And he's doing that by looking and following people and checking out people on social media.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating what you're saying, because there's a couple of things I just want to touch on there. I was on a call earlier on today, and I don't know if you noticed, I actually been out the last couple of months because I was recovering from emergency surgery, all better now. But actually, just to save as a platform, as I'm going for theatre, I literally put a post on LinkedIn because I had so many people to tell, and I thought it's actually easier for me just to empower my team. They've got the con. And that was how I told the world I'm going to be out. And I was literally on a bed going to theatre. But it was the easiest way for me to do a snapshot of I'm not going to be around. And one of my colleagues actually pinged me lately and said, oh, you're back. I've seen you on LinkedIn. And so, you know, he knew that I was feeling better, just even from that platform. And a question I've got for you, do you think that, and again, a couple of questions actually, do you think that, because I personally don't think that much about it, right? I'm not that smart, right? I tend to just be my authentic self, and that's what you see is what you get. And I'm super honest about that. And I want to encourage people to bring their whole self to work, because if you don't love what you do, then find a different job, as you've done, right? So I think you've demonstrated that beautifully in your journey. So one of the things, do you think that people should have a different identity in social, or do you think that people consciously think about it? Because it's not something that I consciously think, but is that something that maybe I should think more about?
It should be your authentic self. And this is one of the problems that people have, which is that they're not their authentic selves at work. And one of the things that happened with COVID was that I'm working in my house. And what would happen is that there was normal things, you know, the doorbell goes, there's a parcel, a dog or a cat comes in or something like that. And what happened was that the work and our home lives basically started.
Collided, didn't they?
Yeah, and actually a lot of people didn't like that. And because what we have are these personas. You go out onto LinkedIn and you'll see people saying, I'm a hardworking, tenacious, results orientated, you know, and it's like, this is just rubbish. You know, you and I are both hardworking, results orientated, tenacious, you know, we're all of those things. Otherwise we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah.
And just so people have this, they put this uniform on, not just, you know, not so much now in terms of suits and stuff, but also, you know, people put this uniform on of, this is what I should look like at work. And I think, and that's, and the difficulty that people are finding is breaking down. And what you're doing is being your authentic self. This is who I am, right? So for example, my summary title on my LinkedIn profile is something so your summary title on your LinkedIn profile is the most visible thing about you on the internet. If you Google yourself, it will show your name, your photo, and your summary title. Your job, if someone Googles you or comes up on Google, is to get that person to your LinkedIn profile. To do that is for them to go, that looks interesting. And for them to be curious, I need to have a look at this. Even if they've got to rush off to a meeting or whatever, they're going to click on that. If you've got the professional edition and above on LinkedIn, you know everybody who's been on your profile. That means anybody who Googles you, that you get to your profile, you've got an opportunity to have a conversation. And conversations create sales.
They do.
Because what you sell and what I sell require us to have a conversation. And so if you've got head of tax at Beaton's Group, that you're going to go, well, I'm going to put in another search and find something else. But but the thing about my summary title is I've had someone say to me, I think it's terribly unprofessional and I will remove it immediately. And my response to that was, thanks very much, but you're never going to buy from me because you don't understand my sense of humor. And the thing is that the thing about the company that you work for is that there's lots of people in it and they may not like Wendy, but they like Tim. So they won't buy from Wendy, but they'll buy from Tim. Because you've got all of these different personalities, and actually the only unique selling point that we have today are employees and their experiences and their personalities. And so what you're doing is by putting and being your authentic self, is that you're putting yourself out there and saying, this is who I am. Connect to me and work with me and like me and trust me. If you're going out and saying there's something you're not, ultimately you're lying.
Yeah, and then that catches out, and people find those sorts of things out immediately.
And the transformation that we see is that traditionally people don't like salespeople. I don't trust you. I don't believe a word you say. You're going to say, you're going to try and force me in the corner and try and close me. And that's what the buyer thinks of salespeople. By actually getting people to actually be their authentic selves, what you'll see is that people will actually walk towards salespeople, because we know that we have to deal with salespeople, because that's how we have to transact. We can go to the website, but buying your stuff, you'll need the conversation. And what we're doing, so for example, Namos, which is a 100-person Oracle reseller, we transformed their sales team. And what happened was that a buyer was out there looking for what they were selling and saw one of the salespeople and said, I think you can help me. And then there was a conversation that you would get between a salesperson and a buyer. That turned into a $2.6 million deal. And then they took another $500,000 out of that because they'd got that relationship. Now, this isn't just people. This isn't people playing on social media for the sake of it, because it's kind of a laugh. This is people getting revenue by saying, if I do this on social media, I'm going to make this impact from a revenue perspective. And that's transformational. And that's what I tried to get over in the first book. I actually got a CEO to say, when they read it, it was the first book they'd actually seen that there was a connection between social media and revenue. And what I've done in the second book, again, is to use that vision as a guidance to say, okay, this is important, but how am I going to translate that into leads and meetings and revenue as a salesperson? And that's what I've done with the second book, again, is use that as guidance as well. And I've got people that have contacted me, and they carry it around in their bag, and they've highlighted things, and it's got sticky notes in it and stuff.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch.
It's great that it's being used as a manual. So not only is it something that's made your dad proud, but also the business leaders then are using it as a bit of a manual in how to get their teams more effective in driving that revenue.
Absolutely, because the sales VP, the first brainstorming session that Matt and I had a meeting with the sales VP, and he leaned across the desk and pointed a finger at me, and he said, this social selling is all very interesting, but where are the effing leads? And that for me was a moment where, and I told Matt this story, and he said, that's what we're going to do. Right, whenever we do a brainstorm, we're going to think about that statement and then think about how we can, so we're not writing fluffy stuff. It's always got to be, and we're going to challenge each other that whenever we do it, we're going to say, okay, so where are the leads? And that's what we did. And what I wanted to then do in the second book is then, we've now been running the business for 6 years. How can we take that and translate to what we've been doing with all of our customers and make sure that we're actually going out and presenting that to people so they can say, this is actually something that's real. There's actually been, people have been transforming their businesses for 2, 3, 4 years. Okay, that places us behind, but how can we catch up and what can we do? How can we get competitive advantage? How can we get market share? How can we get more pipeline? And they're the questions that I want people to be asking to buy the book, rather than because I don't say anything what's the best day to post, because it doesn't matter. What we should be doing is that we should be driving revenue and meetings and pipeline, which is, it's a business book, not a fluffy book.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you know what, Tim, I'm going to ask you to come back for another episode of 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm going to go get the book. I'm going to read the book. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it.
I'd love to debate it. There are some things. There are some things. I'm going to be. Can I just step out from being a modest Brit?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we as a business, we are way ahead of everybody in this. I have a highly dedicated team who are totally committed and passionate about this. You know, I've just got off a meeting about where we've seen something and we've dissected it and stuff like that. And then we've come up with and said, you know, what you're doing with this podcast is great. One of the things that we talk about is we ask companies and say, who is the leading technical, commercial, and digital influencer in your market? And it always goes quiet. And what we see is this physical digital world. The digital world is a bit like the way that the States was before it started getting before it started being populated. You have an ability now to go out into the market and put a stake in the ground and say, we are the payroll and personnel, we are the payroll company. And everything basically then works around that. And what you'll find is that your competition won't know what to do because they don't have the skill. And what you're able to do then is define the marketplace. In the old days, you would have done that through PR by sending out press releases and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's taken an awful lot longer.
Yeah. But now nobody, because of the fact that this digital market is completely barren, you've got that ability to go out and stake the ground and basically say, this is who we are. This is what we're about. And actually define that. And so what we're seeing is that already companies are doing that in energy. And it's completely confusing the competition because they don't know what to do. And this movement to digital is completely changing the way that we do business, changing the way that we recruit people, changing the way that we get suppliers. So this isn't just about sales; it's across the whole of the enterprise. So I've got clients that don't use recruiters anymore and don't use job ads anymore. So this simply
crafting through digital and targeting the right talent for the roles they've got.
Because digital, people think digital is a new ERP system or whatever. Okay, what that does is it gives you certain efficiencies, but digital is also empowering your people and empowering the processes. And this is about thinking about and using digital in new ways. So what we can do is if we power our people saying, and you are already doing this, saying, this is how we work. This is what it's like. This is what our culture is. This is the women's group that we run. This is the STEM initiative that we have. This is and what you'll get are people going, do you know, that looks really interesting. Now I'm happy where I am working right now, but if anything goes wrong, I'd love to work there. And then you only need for them to have a bad meeting and they're going to go, I'm going to apply.
And you know what? It's amazing how many people will just ping you on your LinkedIn and here's my CV. I'm really keen to get out of what I'm doing and I want to come work for you. So actually then you're building up your talent pool the whole time. And when recruitment and retention are the biggest topics in the world at the moment across all sectors around how we're going to grow our businesses. And then you need the technology to be able to service the people that you've got in your business, because you've got people, you need payroll, you need compliance, you need all those things that support it. And for me, what actually I love is that we get the opportunity for people who have joined the business, who have maybe looked on LinkedIn, and then actually 6 months after they've been in their journey, they've said, you know what, everything you've said, I love when it's actually, I've had the chance to work and meet you and see that it's all the real deal.
It's exactly that. And that is how you become employer of choice in your market today. Yes, you need to be doing those things, but you also need to be externalizing that, and the way, and not do it in a brochure way, but to, by empowering your people to tell that story in an authentic way. Because if you say, here's the paragraph that you have to share, we all know that. We're not stupid. But if you sit there and actually say, I'm off this. Here I am. I'm off to the operating theatre, and people recognise that, and they know that it's about you. That they know it's not written by some PR company, because you can tell from the way that people write it. It's about being that authentic self. And I know for a lot of people this is often a struggle because of the fact that they come to work with this with this mask and this thing on, but that is now the way that the world of digital works. And the digital, it's about the people empowerment, and it's about making sure that we're being human centric in what we're doing in the way that we run our business.
And I love that. And you know, Tim, I'm going to close this one because I'm definitely going to want you back once I've read the book. We can debate it. And actually, I would love to get some of my other team members to be part of that debate maybe as well. And we can widen the audience. But Tim, I'm so delighted to be connected with you. Thank you for joining me today. Everyone go buy the book. I'm going to, and Tim, I look forward to meeting you in person, not in digital form.
I'd love to.
Very, very soon. But listen, take care of yourself, and thanks again for joining us.
Thanks. Cheers, Wendy. Bye.
Take care.